Business and local restaurants still fail to match pre-pandemic levels. University of Hong Kong will embrace artificial intelligence, but with some conditions. China remains in talks with Washington over potential visit by Foreign Minister Wang Yi to the U.S. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The total revenue for local restaurants in the second quarter was $27 billion, similar to the first quarter but still short of pre-pandemic levels. Some in the catering sector believe that local businesses have been negatively impacted by the rising number of residents who choose to spend their money on cheaper shopping sprees abroad. Timothy Lee has our top story.
Restaurants offering delicacies from all over the world. A cinema awaits for those done with their shopping. This is what Shenzhen shoppers are greeted with near most of their train stations. Many of these malls have only opened in recent years. Attracting a large number of people even during weekdays, a surprising number of them actually hail from Hong Kong. Some of them shared their reasons for opting to shop in the mainland. This woman said there were plenty of affordable options for restaurants in Shenzhen and praised their staff service. While this woman noted that she doesn't have to leave the air-conditioned station to enjoy her time, adding that she could just shop at several malls connected to the station. But back in Hong Kong, empty seats could be seen in restaurants at this Tsim Sha Tsui Mall. This restaurant spokesperson said he expected large numbers of tourists to visit Hong Kong after the city returned to normalcy, but few chose to come to the SAR. There is growth, however, in the overall business for Hong Kong's restaurants. In the second quarter, Hong Kong's restaurants recorded a total revenue of $27.4 billion, which is similar to earnings in the first quarter. The figure shows a year-on-year growth of over 20%. But compared with figures from the same period in 2018 and 2019, this year's total revenue remains significantly lower than pre-pandemic years. Authorities expect the combination of more tourists visiting the city in the near future, an improving labor market, and the second round of consumption vouchers will help boost the economy. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The Indonesian government will implement a new policy in September, mandating employers to pay for all agency fees upon hiring Indonesian domestic helpers. Under Jakarta's new plan, employers must shoulder Indonesian domestic helpers' transport and administration fees, which could add up to $20,000 of total fees. There are concerns that Indonesian domestic helpers may lose their appeal, as many employers may switch to hiring from other countries. But they remain a popular option in the city because many are willing to learn Cantonese and take care of the elderly. The University of Hong Kong announced that students and teachers will get free access to next-generation artificial intelligence technology, generative AI, including ChatGPT, in their studies and teaching in September. The university has attached some conditions for the usage, but hopes students can embrace Gen AI tools and learn the limitations of them. Mimo Singai has more.
Since the introduction of the Gen AI chatbot, ChatGPT, the applications of the tool have created much debate in the academic sector. In February, Vice President of the University of Hong Kong, Ian Holliday, sent an email to members of the institution announcing a ban on ChatGPT. The email also said individuals who had used the tool in their work would be accused of plagiarism. 6 months later, and the university has changed its mind. It has decided to encourage the use of ChatGPT applications on campus after conducting several months of trials and reviews of the tool. Holliday said the university is now ready to embrace Gen AI's importance in teaching and learning.
We said it was an interim measure from the very beginning. We said we would use that time to work out a policy, and that's what we've done. We couldn't guarantee equal access to Gen AI tools for all students. We knew that some students had better access than others. The second reason was that we weren't sure that we would be able to secure our examination process and make it safe and reliable and valid for all students. And we wanted to guarantee to our students that we would be able to assess them all fairly.
HKU students will have a quota of 20 prompts per month when using ChatGPT, meaning individuals can ask the chatbot 20 questions or generating 20 conversations with the chatbot. Why does HKU set a quota at 20?
We actually monitor the usage and define the usage pattern accordingly. So during the launch since now, we believe that's a reasonable number to use, and we will monitor how the student use it, and then we can adjust up or down accordingly, because it does have a budget implication.
Moreover, students must also provide source reference in the work for any Gen AI 2 task. HKU also said it will form alliances with top overseas universities in the future to explore potential learning and usage applications for Gen AI. Mimos 9, TVB News.
China says it is willing to keep discussing Foreign Minister Wang Yi's possible visit to Washington with the U.S. Meanwhile, the U.S. Ministry of Defense said Wednesday one of their officials had spoken with Beijing's top North American diplomat. The talks involved Yang Tao, Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Department of North American and Oceanic Affairs, and the U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, Eli Ratner. The rare high-level talks involved discussions about regional security issues and defense relations between the two countries. The Pentagon said Ratner emphasized their ongoing commitment to maintaining open lines of military-to-military communication with Beijing. Earlier, Beijing urged Washington to create conditions for dialogue. China also stressed the U.S. knows exactly why the two sides are facing difficulty in establishing communication channels between their militaries. Barricades have been put up outside a federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., as former U.S. President Donald Trump is due to appear in court to answer charges that he sought to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Trump is expected to enter a not guilty plea. This report from NBC News.
Former President Trump tonight thanking his supporters for standing by him in the face of what he's slamming as a new, unprecedented indictment. Mr. Trump now accused of leading a conspiracy in a desperate bid to hang on to power after losing the 2020 election, pursuing what special counsel Jack Smith's prosecutors say was a, quote, criminal scheme, culminating in the violence of January 6th. Though the indictment does not charge Mr. Trump with inciting the riot.
The Department of Justice has remained committed to ensuring accountability for those criminally responsible for what happened that day. This case is brought consistent with that commitment.
Mr. Trump facing 4 felony counts: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against people's right to vote and have their votes counted. The indictment says then-President Trump knowingly spread lies about the election, adding the defendant had a right to claim falsely that he had won, but that he went too far, pursuing, quote, unlawful means of discounting legitimate votes and subverting the election results. The indictment lists 6 unindicted and unnamed co-conspirators, including, according to their attorneys, Trump lawyers Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman, who first allegedly tried to overturn the results in 7 states, including in Georgia, where the former president was recorded pressing the Secretary of State for help.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
When that failed, allegedly moving on to enlist the vice president to use his ceremonial role on January 6th to fraudulently alter the election results. Prosecutors say Mr. Trump repeatedly pressured Mike Pence, including in a Christmas Day phone call. When Pence refused, Mr. Trump allegedly telling him, quote, you're too honest.
Sadly, the president was surrounded by a group of crackpot lawyers that kept telling him what his itching ears wanted to hear.
And later, the indictment says, attempting to use the angry crowd summoned on the 6th to pressure Pence more directly. The indictment says Mr. Trump's own attorney general and White House counsel told him he had lost. But tonight, his defense attorney insists Mr. Trump still believes he won and was acting on what his lawyers had told him.
Everything that Mr. Trump requested to be done was done with the advice of counsel, was done with lawyers giving him advice. Those lawyers are going to come in and testify.
Arguing the charges against the Republican frontrunner are from a partisan prosecutor.
So now we have the criminalization and the weaponization of public policy and political speech by one political party over another.
Presiding over the case will be federal judge Tanya Chutkan, an Obama appointee known for handing out longer prison sentences in January 6 cases than prosecutors have requested.
Northern Taiwan shut businesses and schools today as Typhoon Kanun skirted past the island's northeast amid warnings of floods and high winds. The typhoon swept through Okinawa Wednesday, killing at least 2 people. Tracy Furness has more.
Strong waves were seen punching the shore in the northern Taiwan city of Keelung Thursday, while Coast Guards patrolled the beaches. Typhoon Kanun, which means jackfruit in Thai, sustained surface winds of 162 kilometers per hour with higher gusts Thursday morning. In Taipei, rain and wind brought down street signs and trees were uprooted and lay across roads. Subway services were reduced and hundreds of soldiers were on standby in nearby cities for disaster response. More than 16,000 households across Taiwan experienced power cuts. Taiwan's Weather Bureau categorized Typhoon Kanun at the second strongest level. Businesses and schools were closed, while 110 domestic and international flights were cancelled as this slow-moving typhoon skirts past the east of the island at around 5 kilometers an hour. The eye of the typhoon is forecast to stay offshore, but strong winds will be felt in a 100-kilometer radius, according to Taiwan's Central Weather Bureau on Thursday afternoon. On Wednesday, Typhoon Kanun ripped through Okinawa, killing 2 people and injuring at least 62 others, 3 of them seriously. 30% of the island was without power, as were 7,000 homes on nearby Amami Island. Typhoon Kanun comes just a week after Typhoon Doksuri brought heavy rains and strong winds to the south of Taiwan. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Still ahead, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen criticizes Fitch's decision to downgrade United States ratings. Meet the animal friends featured at a new ocean park attraction. Welcome back. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has voiced more complaints over Fitch ratings downgrade of the main U.S. credit rating from AAA to AA+, calling it entirely unwarranted. Billionaire investor Warren Buffett said he's not worried about the downgrade, but that Fitch's concerns are valid. Republican presidential candidate Mike Pence said the downgrade reflected President Joe Biden's failure to improve the U.S. economy. Nazvi Karim with details.
Fiscal concerns, the deterioration in United States governance, and political polarization emanating partly from the January 6th insurrection. These are among the key reasons credit rating agency Fitch decided to downgrade U.S. credit rating from AAA to AA+. The move took many investors and analysts by surprise. The White House issued a statement saying it strongly disagrees with Fitch's decision, which follows Standard & Poor's downgrade in 2011. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said Fitch failed to factor in a resilient U.S. economy, low unemployment, and falling inflation.
Fitch's decision is puzzling in light of the economic strength we see in the United States. Its flawed assessment is based on outdated data and fails to reflect improvements across a range of indicators, including those related to governance, that we've seen over the past 2.5 years.
Investors use credit ratings to assess the risk of lending money, which may also help to determine interest rates. Fitch says it has little confidence in the U.S. government's ability to address fiscal and debt issues. Some of it is based on the last-minute deal struck in early June between President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to lift the U.S. debt ceiling after a tense standoff that threatened the government's ability to pay its bills. Yellen, though, remained adamant.
Over 13 million new jobs have been created since January 2021. Our unemployment rate stands at 3.6%, near historic lows. In the longer term, the United States remains the world's largest, most dynamic, and most innovative economy, with the strongest financial system in the world.
One analyst said Fitch's reasoning is based on expectations for the U.S. economy over the next few years.
It's a little bit strange timing, given that we've had very positive economic news over the past month. That being said, I do think that there are some headwinds in the U.S. economy. And in a way, is this rating the best way to send this message? I'm not sure. But I do think that it's a reasonable reminder that a soft landing is not a foregone conclusion.
Nazri Karim, TVB News.
The gunman who stormed a synagogue in Pittsburgh and killed 11 Jewish worshippers will be sentenced to death, a jury has decided. Robert Bowers, a truck driver, spewed hatred of Jews and hailed white supremacist beliefs online before the 2018 massacre at the Tree of Life synagogue. The same federal jury that convicted the 50-year-old Bowers on 63 criminal counts recommended on Wednesday that he be put to death for what is described as the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history. Hours after the verdict, community members, survivors, and family members of victims gathered at the Jewish Community Center to share their grief.
Today marks the end.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his wife Sophie have announced they are separating after 18 years of marriage. Daniel Rao reports.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his wife Sophie revealed they were separating in an unexpected announcement that appeared to mark the end of the couple's 18-year high-profile marriage. Trudeau was only 43 when he became Prime Minister in 2015, and the couple quickly captured the attention of the world media. The pair tied the knot in May 2005. They have 3 children aged 15, 14 and 9. In the early years after Trudeau took office, he and his wife were often seen together at social functions and on foreign trips. Trudeau, though, made clear even before he became Prime Minister that the two had faced challenges. He wrote in his autobiography that their marriage isn't perfect and that they have had difficult ups and downs. In recent years, the pair curtailed joint appearances as signs of stress were clear. Trudeau's office said the two had signed a legal agreement stressing that the couple would focus on raising their children. The family is still set to go on holiday together next week. A source familiar with the situation said Sophie Trudeau will be moving into separate accommodation in Ottawa, but plans to spend plenty of time with the children in Rideau Cottage, the Prime Minister's official residence. The source said the couple will have joint custody of the children. For Trudeau, the separation draws painful historical parallels. His father, former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, also separated from his wife Margaret in 1977 when he was in office. The Liberals are currently trailing in Canadian polls, but aides say Justin Trudeau remains determined to lead the party into the next election, which must be held by October 2025. Dunnerell, TVB News.
There could be a new contender for the heaviest animal that ever lived. While today the blue whale has long held the title, in Peru, scientists have dug up fossils from an ancient giant whale that could tip the scales. Researchers describe the new species, the colossal whale from Peru, in the science journal Nature. The whale lived more than 39 million years ago and is estimated to have weighed between 94 and 375 tons. Back locally, a new animal attraction at Ocean Park featuring sloths and other nocturnal creatures is open to the public. The attraction also showcases various exhibits about extinct or endangered species in a bid to raise visitors' awareness towards wildlife conservation. Jackie Lynn was there.
Meet Sonic and Yang Mok. The father and son slow-moving duo are the stars in this newly opened studio. 13-year-old Yingmao hails from Singapore, while his son Sonic was born here at Ocean Park. Their nocturnal neighbors include the ball python with meet and greet sessions with other animal friends such as the honey bear and the macaw. The new attraction themed the Red List of Threatened Species is also where art meets conservation. These AI-generated drawings feature extinct and critically endangered animals such as the western black rhinoceros.
As you can see behind me, sloths spend most of their time upside down on the branches. Their caretaker also told us they mate and give birth on the trees. They only come down to the ground for their weekly defecation and to move to another tree.
Ocean Park also updates the public on their progress in examining the body of the Brutus whale found dead in waters off Sai Kung. It's likely going to take a few weeks or even months for a final report to be submitted to the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department.
We are pretty sure that those wounds are caused by some hard objects and also cause trauma to the whale's body. We hope that we can provide more information in next step after we have consolidated a completed report to AFCD.
Ivan Wong, Ocean Park CEO, also appeared to be emotional when talking about the whale's tragic fate. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.